Hello and welcome to this video with the lovely Liz Nagle on the 7 Hermetic principles. Hopefully we're going to come to some kind of way of seeing how to apply this wisdom to our everyday life. If you haven't already met the lovely Liz, she is my good friend and mentor, and you can find out more about her in my first couple of videos with her on my YouTube channel, Self-Mastery with Liz Nagle. So welcome back, Liz, to my channel. Oh,
sorry. It's a firework outside.
There you go. That's your welcome party to the channel.
Oh, myself and the cat nearly had a heart attack.
Anything you want to say or share before we get stuck in?
Well, just that the Cabalion is such such wisdom, really, in shorthand, and explained so clearly, really, I think, to me anyway, that I think it's a book that everybody should read or listen to, and very handily it's available on YouTube, read by I've forgotten. You can put a link to it.
The book is by the 3 initiates. We know that.
Oh, the book is by the 3 initiates, but it's
who's
read.
actually recording? I don't know, but I will put a link in the description. I'm going to put a link in the description to the Cabalian, which goes in depth onto the 7 Hermetic principles, and also I will put a link in the description to Aubrey Marcus and Robert Edward Grant's video on decoding the wisdom of the 7 Hermetic principles as well, because we both found that very interesting, didn't we?
Yeah.
We want to study it further, because I think ours is going to be more of an introduction.
I think so.
So those links will be in the description. Okay, so was there anything else you wanted to say before we get started?
No, nothing else.
Okay, so we'll just work down them then, shall we? Well, let's start off with who was Hermes, Hermetic principles. The name itself I thought was quite interesting. Now this is interesting as to whether it's a myth or a person. And when we talk about these people in history or whatever, of course, they've reincarnated a number of times, and they could have been a number of different people. I found that bit very interesting, because there was this Hermes was also Thoth. And the reason that that name stuck in my mind was because you have a pack of cards. You have some tarot cards, the Thoth tarot cards. That's the only place I've heard that name. So apparently he was one of Hermes' incarnations. But did you get that bit?
Yes, yeah. No, I knew that already, from, I'm not sure where, maybe it was from that interview that I listened to earlier. But so yes, Thoth is the god of wisdom or something, I think, in Egyptian history. And an interesting character, as is Hermes. I also heard he's Hermes Trismegistus, which is the thrice blessed, or thrice good. But I also heard that it means thrice born, that he had 3 incarnations. Anyway, so I thought.
So do we know his third one?
Remember the third? I can't remember. Sorry.
They might have mentioned it, and I heard somewhere Thor as well. But is that that's a different person from Thor? Thor, as in the Viking or whatever. Was he Viking? I don't know. The Nordic myth.
The Nordic god of thunder or war. He's Mars, basically, or Aries.
That's a different energy, right? That's not.
Yeah. Okay. I think so. I do think that the Norse mythology kind of broke down, from having a few gods to many gods. So some of the gods got separated out and got new names. Their energies, if you know what I mean.
Oh, right. Okay.
That'll make no sense to anyone, but anyway.
So we don't know his third incarnation, but
I can't remember.
If anybody does know, they can comment, can't they, and let us know. So yes, this his so Trismegistus, his name. I remember it by the three majesties is the way I kind of remember it. So that's how did you translate that then? There's a
Thrice blessed, or thrice good,
okay.
or thrice born.
Okay. Okay. So yes, so it was the wisdom was coming from him. So well, it doesn't whatever the origins, it's I think it's relevant and important knowledge and wisdom, isn't it? And the other reason I think that motivated me, especially to ask you as well, rather than do a video on my own, tap into all your wisdom and knowledge, um, is because for me, with tarot, the Hierophant is the card of spiritual wisdom and the spiritual teacher. I always say with that card, it's about seeking a mentor and becoming a mentor. And in that card, there are the crossed keys. And we talk about the keys to the kingdom, the keys to knowledge. And there are many references to keys, and the fact that the word key unlocks things, and the fact that the word key is also used on maps to help you decipher and decode. So there's no coincidence there that the relevance of the word keys. And I think this is that kind of wisdom, of course, isn't it? And then because we've had our charts done recently, and your astrological chart identifies you very much with the energies and the qualities of the Hierophant. So all of that was going through my mind when I just thought, okay, we need to talk to Liz about this.
Well, I also think, you know, one of the really important things about the Cabalian is that they are the principles of truth. They're fundamental truths that our universe is based on, basically.
So they're not subjective like a lot of truths.
Yeah, not subjective.
Because I've been learning that one, that the truth is subjective, but not these.
Well, yeah, okay. So with the principle of polarity, there is truth, and then there's different perspectives on it.
And that's such an interesting one, but let's wait till we get there, because I've got a question for you on that one as well. Because that's the one that that's the one that I struggled with the most, and I think I love your explanation and your explaining the way that you make that clear. But let's start at the beginning then. So the first of the 7 principles is the principle of mentalism. Basically, the universe is mental, works on a mental level.
And you left out the beginning of that. The all is mind. The universe is mental. So the all is just another word for consciousness, source, God, whatever you want to call it. So the all is everything. There is nothing that is not the all. Otherwise it wouldn't be the all. So everything is included in this principle. Really, we only need the one principle. You know, the other 6 are just breaking it down. All is mental. All is mind. So do you want to talk about your understanding of that, and I'll see where we
go. Yeah, I mean, so yeah, the whole thing, is mind, what you think. Is that it going back to what you think you become? And that's why I do a lot of work, as you know, on the change your beliefs, change your life kind of angle. Dr. Wayne Dyer wrote a book called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. And I can't remember it now offhand, but Gandhi had a quote about the thoughts and how it creates your reality as well.
Yeah, and there's the famous Henry. Sorry, there's the famous Henry Ford quote about, you know, what you believe you are, you are.
If you think you can, you can.
If you think you can, you can't. Yeah,
yeah. So on some level, I think a lot of us can grasp that, but I think there's probably a deeper level. And as you say, a lot of these principles, this is the main one, of course, and the others are kind of subcategories of it, maybe, because I can see where there's a lot of overlap with the principles. But what do you want to say about this principle of mentalism? How can it help us in our everyday life, or our creation of our realities, I should say, or creating heaven on earth?
Well, when you understand that everything you see, everything you experience is simply your perception of it. And it's very hard to talk about one principle without bringing in others, because they are all connected. So, you know, when you realize that you are that as above, so below, the principle of correspondence, that what you're thinking is creating what you're seeing, then it helps you to question what you're thinking, what you're believing. And even if we, you know, it's difficult to change beliefs that are in our subconscious that we're not even aware of. But if at least we are aware that if what I'm seeing out here isn't pleasing to me, is causing me to suffer, then maybe there's a belief somewhere in here that I'm not aware of that's creating that out there. So it means that we can learn about our subconscious and unconscious being, our how we are, who we are, by seeing the world out there and seeing what makes us uncomfortable and what do we like and what do we dislike, and, you know, what makes us suffer and what makes us expand. And just, yeah, so it gives us that opportunity.
And the sentence that really stuck with me was how you see the world is what changes it. How you see it is what changes it. That to me really, really struck a chord. And in the interview with Aubrey Marcus and Robert Edward Grant, they use an example. I can't remember where it's from now, but they use an example where there was a woman who was actually being raped and chose to observe the whole experience from the highest level of consciousness she could. And when she did that, all she could see were these sad, guilt-ridden, shame-filled men not knowing how to love. And so her higher self had so much love and compassion for these flawed humans. And she was able to kind of see it from a completely different perspective. And then apparently they saw the error of their ways, and spent the rest of their lives doing everything and anything they could to kind of make up to her. But I mean, that's a really extreme example, of course, and not suggesting that.
Well, why not?
Well, it's not what they made me think. Sorry, go on.
Why not suggest that everybody see things from a higher octave, as Paul Selig would say? Yeah. That's how we transform the world. So yeah, I am suggesting that everybody. Could I do it? I don't know. But I am suggesting to myself that that would be a good way.
And it's an option. I mean, it's another way of looking at things. Because of course we're very much in that paradigm of it's someone's fault. People have to justice has to be served, and we have to do something about that justice. When you realize that there is only you, and you're creating all your own karma, you know that people are going to get their own karma. They're creating their own situations. It's got nothing to do with you, and it's not about revenge. It's not about equalizing, because all of that includes judgment. So it's taking the judgment out of everything. But it kind of reminded me of when I took myself out of, to look down on when I had that root canal work done without anesthetic. And, you could judge that as painful, traumatic, or whatever. And I thought, no, I'm just going to observe it from a higher place, which I did. And it kind of worked, but I did have to seek energy healing afterwards, because something put me out of balance during that process. But on a smaller scale, it was some kind of step in that direction, is what I'm getting at, is because it's also maybe it's a little bit like hypnosis as well, when you're in a different place and then you do things without kind of knowing. I don't know. And then how you feel about it when you look back. It's definitely about rising above the judgments of whatever's going on, isn't it?
Yes, and getting out of the story. Oh no, this is going to be painful. I'm going to, I'm going to be so ashamed. This is like invading my privacy, my space. I'm going to, sorry, with your tooth, this is going to be painful. He might hit a nerve, and then what? And, it's like, I'll jump out of my seat. So that's old story. Whereas if you just be in the moment, you don't have to actually even leave your body. You just in the moment, I'm in this moment, I'm okay. In this moment, I'm safe. And then it's like, ow! And then in this moment, I'm okay again. That moment hurt. This moment, I'm okay again. I'm okay again. I'm okay. We're talking about extreme cases. And really, how can any of us do that? Can I do that? I don't know. In an extreme case, I don't know. But
I proved that I couldn't.
Well, you proved that you could to an extent. But I think the thing is that we practice it with the little things. Stop being the victim of the person who gives you a dirty look, or somebody said something that upset you. Stop being the victim of it and take it in. And don't be a victim of yourself either. It's not like, oh, well, it's not their fault, so it has to be mine. It's be open to just this moment. And I'm safe and happy in this moment. Really, that's, if we can let go of all our judgments and all of our worries and all of our stories about anything that has happened up to now or that might happen in the future, and just focus on this moment, letting go of the stories, then we end our own suffering, whether that's on the guilt that I haven't done the dishes and the sink is full, or whether it's something big like a trauma, like an attack or a trauma.
And it does help, doesn't it, with the teachings of there is only you, and you are the creator. I mean, I come back to that all the time. is that we are the only people creating our reality. That is a quantum truth, you know. We are the only people creating our reality. So the question is always, why am I creating this, or how am I creating this? But then again, that question only comes up because you've got judgment about what you're experiencing, and so there's still a story there. But you know, taking into account that it's quite difficult to release all our stories. And I think there is a process going on here. And I think that this came up on Sundays in the April cards, because I mean, in the beginning, it's like we're trying to shift the contracting, low vibrating negative beliefs into expansive, positive, love, self-love affirming beliefs. That's kind of like your first stage, because then there's still a story there. You know, we've still got stories about I'm a divine being of love and light, but the point is that story is serving you because it's expanding you. But if you go further, you know, we've got these, we mentioned this the other day, didn't we? That there's neither good nor bad in anything.
Yeah.
So you've got to
just
look
an
at
experience.
Yeah, it's all just an experience. But then again, who is it that says the preferred experience? Oh, that might be foreselling, mightn't it? But then we do have a preferred experience, and we do kind of consciously want to create our preferred experiences. I think that's where most of us are at, rather than kind of neutralizing ourselves to everything. So it is kind of like still playing with stories, but just swapping perceived negative ones for perceived positive ones, if that makes sense.
Well, ones that help us to expand and evolve and grow as individuals and collective. Yeah. Because the other is just going to make us, well, it's going to be the end of humanity if we don't expand and evolve, you know. So we have to expand, and love is that frequency, that creative frequency of expansion and evolution. So it's love and compassion and kindness and gratitude that are the stories that help us to evolve.
And also love and compassion, like with the woman being raped, for example, her choice of perception, shall we say, was the ultimate expression of compassion for herself.
Yes.
Not just for the men.
Completely.
For
yes.
herself. Because
they're only a reflection of her.
She was open and expansive to love and compassion, as opposed to panic and trauma and all the other energies.
And too often we get caught up in, but they shouldn't be allowed to get away with it. If she forgives them, she's letting them away with it. And that's what keeps us going in this hamster wheel of suffering and trauma. Whereas when we realize that what's happening out there is a reflection of what I'm doing to myself.
Yeah, and let's bring this into what I would say is a more relevant area for, I don't know, humanity at the moment, which would be looking at things going on in the world with exactly those words that you've just said. It shouldn't be allowed to happen. It's wrong. It mustn't happen. And this is where the truth is subject, because if we are all creating our own reality based on the frequencies that we are, right? So we have all these frequencies, and we have all these emotions, these thoughts. So the thoughts are attached to emotions, the emotions are attached to thoughts, whichever way we want to look at it. But we're creating from that. So we are creating a uniqueness to our reality, which to some extent makes discussing things kind of invalid, because we've all got our own filter to see things through. But obviously there is a collective filter as well. And I think one of the most important points is realizing that we are creating from where we're putting our, because it's the universe is mental, right? So we are creating So wherever we're putting our attention and our consciousness, wherever we're focusing our thoughts and our beliefs, that's what we're creating. So if we spend our time looking at what other people have created that we don't like. Look, there's all these people over here creating things, and they're not very nice things. But if I go over there and put my mental abilities and entangle them with what's going on over there, I can energize that, and then more people are going to experience that. Because I come back every time to the fact that everything exists. A lot of people are working on the basis that they're trying to do away with completely the things that they don't like. And I don't think it's about doing away with completely the things that you don't like. I think it's about raising your frequency above that you don't like. Because what you don't like, everything is going to exist. It's always going to exist, because if it's ever been thought or if it's ever been believed by anyone at any time, then it's the all that is. And it's there in the all that is. So you're not going to be able to all it. You're not going to be able to. You can't wipe out anything that's been thought or said or done by other people or yourself at any time. So the only choice we have, we're not sticking our heads in the sand like some people think. The only choice we have is to raise our frequency so that we experience and create from a higher level of consciousness.
Yeah.
So it's not about, that's why if you want to change what's going on in the world, you change yourself and raise yourself above it, so that what you're looking at can then become history. I know it's all happening at the same time, but I'm just trying to put it in perspective. Rather than, or it's happening somewhere, but it's not happening to me. That approach sounds very selfish, because we have to go and look after all the people over there. And it's like, but there is only you creating your reality. And if everybody raised their frequency and created from a place of love and compassion, these things wouldn't be experienced, would they?
No. No. Yeah, it's that quote from Manly P. Hall, you know, the bad news out there isn't real unless you are part of that programming, that bad programming. So yeah, whatever you're seeing, unless it's like happening to you, it doesn't become real unless you become entangled with it. It doesn't become part of your reality unless you entangle with it, unless you become part of that bad programming. And I call it it's bad programming because it's not expansive. It's not for in the highest interest of me or humanity.
Yeah. It represents energies, low consciousness energies. Yeah, like the greed, the control, manipulation,
corruption, anything that isn't
divisiveness,
that isn't love and compassion and
unity, because there's still all this divisiveness, isn't there?
Yeah, well, then we're down to the principle of polarity.
Right, so let's go on to then, otherwise we'll talk for ages on the mentalism one, because obviously, as you said, it is the overview one, isn't it? So the second principle is the principle of correspondence, and you touched on this before, which is basically the as above, below, as within, without. Not as without within, it's as within, without. Creating from the inside out, we're not creating from the outside in. This whole concept, this is the trigger, isn't it? Understanding triggers as well. I will put a link in the description to my video on understanding triggers, because as within, without, and I think, and as above, below, to me, it's like this, when you see the sacred geometry of plants and things like that, and then you look at how parts of the human body actually represent, the same designs. And I don't know, things like a walnut looking like a brain, and I don't know, stuff like that. As a
Well,
correspondence.
it's the same. Yeah, it's the same geometric patterns throughout all life, or all matter, not just life. But yeah, the actual the Cabalion actually says, as above, so below, and as below, so above. It doesn't talk about in and out or out and in, but it's I guess it can be extrapolated from that. But as above, so below, it just means that whatever is in the macro is in the micro, and whatever's in the micro is in the macro. It's a mirror image. They're mirroring each other all the time. And so when I take that down to my life, my individual experiences, I can say, okay, when I can see discord, greed, violence, anger, whatever is going on out there, how is that reflecting? What am I feeling inside that I am, creating this projection out there to be reflected back to me? Which, is hard in some ways, because it's like a never ending. It's never ending, because there's always something that I need to reflect on, that is being reflected back to me. But on the other hand, I'm not a victim. I'm never a victim of what's going on out there, because I have at least the ability to see that I'm a part of it, and that, how I'm contributing to it. And the possibility then of maybe making a correction to it, and changing a belief or a thought, or having a different perspective on it.
Yeah, and this is also kind of a bit of an overlap as well with the mentalism one and the vibration one that comes afterwards, because like you said, it's the macro becomes the micro, and again, it's like if I use the word frequency again, it's like, whatever is within you, whatever frequency is within you is created outside of you. It's that's a correspondence as well, isn't it? But that's also the vibration and the law of attraction and all those other ones as well. But it's the same idea. And like you said, if you're seeing things in the world like we said, greed, control, manipulation, and you could be seeing it on a really large scale, like people that literally are manipulating the whole of humanity, and people that are trying to control the whole world. And so then you look inside and you go, if it's triggering you, okay, this is the difference, isn't it? If it's triggering you, then it's resonating with that frequency within you. So then you would ask, okay, where do I have that? And you could say, well, I'm not controlling like that. I'm not manipulative like that. And no, you're not. But on some level, so we have to say it's on some level, because it's a frequency, isn't it? So it could be on some level. So the greed, we're seeing the greed in, banks, for example, when my family sent over £15 to my son and he had to pay €18 to receive it. And then you just think, hang on a minute. So you see this greed, but then if it triggers you, which it did in that case, I'm looking, where's the greed within me? Well, there's going to be greed if you're taking anything more than you need, whether that be food or someone else's time and attention or whatever it might be. So it doesn't have to be on the same level. You don't have to be financially greedy to still resonate and get triggered by that frequency, you know, you are still creating, you are still contributing. That's what I want to say. We are still contributing to the greed, manipulation, and control in the collective, by not looking within at where are we being greedy, where are we being controlling. And, you know, we've got so many judgments about this. You know, I'm not controlling. And it's like, well, we're all trying to control something, and we're trying to control the outcome of a situation. We might be trying to control our own emotions and how we show them. I mean, or we have to take it in the different levels in order to be able to find where it is within us. But this is what it's all about, isn't it? This inner work, or the inner homework, as I call it.
Yeah, it is. And it doesn't have to be work, because if we're just being, you know, the best that we can be, really, then it doesn't have to be work. Because to be honest, I get fed up with, you know, I want to stop working at myself, on myself. I just want to be. I just want to be the best version of me that I can be in every moment. That's it.
There's still judgment there, because you're still judging what's better than something else.
I said, no, I just want to be the best that I can be in every moment. I'm not judging. I'm not saying I want to be better in the next moment than I am now. I just want to be the best I can be in this moment, now.
Yeah. Yeah, and also, I mean, I've said before, I want to reclaim the word work, because for a long time I don't resonate with the word work, because I think that we're just all playing, and whether we receive financial, you know, exchanges for our playing, that's neither here nor there. It's just that, you know, you're playing if you're doing what you love. And it's that point. I remember this when I went to teach my first ever yoga class. I remember thinking, oh my God, I would rather be doing this than not doing this. And that's when you realize that life is doesn't have to be a struggle. And so, yeah, the whole concept of work. So we need to reclaim that. So, I mean, this inner work, we could call it inner exploration, but maybe you don't want to do that anymore either. But for, I find it, maybe it's inquiry.
It's inquiry. I think it's inquiry, because you know, we're constantly having experiences, and you know, things will trigger us. Of course they will, because if we stop being triggered,
oh, you've frozen as you
stop
said.
growing.
Oh, hang on, you just froze.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, go back. If we stop being triggered, go back to that.
If we stop being triggered, we stop growing. You know, I don't want to go and live in a cave in the Himalayas to stop being triggered. Not that it wouldn't stop my triggers, because I am always giving myself what I need for my growth, for my evolution.
And that's the whole point. You are giving it. Yes, your higher self. You are creating it. We are creating it. All of those triggers
all
as
of
well.
the situations, all of the situations that I encounter in my life are for my evolution, for my growth, for me, not to me. And I mean, it's happening for me, not to me. I'm doing that. Everybody does that. So I might see somebody, or I might consider myself to be something, you know, lacking in lack, and somebody else has more of what I want. But even in everybody, every single entity is creating situations for their growth. This is why, you know, people who don't have money look at those who have lots of money and say, oh, I wish I had all of that. But the ones with lots of money have their sets of challenges. Just money isn't one of them, or maybe it is actually, and they have to deal with having too much money. And so we're all creating all all of our situations to help us grow. Otherwise, we would be atrophying and dying, and that would be no fun either.
So it's fun. This is the point. So so yeah, we're not, it's not inner work, it's inner fun. And it's curiosity. We've said to each other before, haven't we? Like, you know, this happened, I wonder why I created that. So I'm coming in from a place of curiosity. But that could be because the things that trigger us are not big anymore, so they are kind of a bit more lighthearted. But you can just sort of look at it from that. Okay, I created this. What am I feeling? What am I seeing? Where is that in me? Can I relate it? And we do the Byron Katie Judge Your Neighbor worksheets. We've got quite good at doing that in our heads as we go, haven't we? And I think we've done a video on that, haven't we? Yeah. So that's kind of relevant. But yeah, so this yeah, so it's not work anymore, it's just inquiry. Yeah, looking at stuff. And maybe it's not even that, it's just observation, isn't it? It's just observation, it's just observing what's going on outside, observing your emotions and the way you feel about it, and then observing what's coming up for you, and corresponding it with where it is in your life, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've taken the word work out of there.
Okay.
Okay, should we go on to the next one? Well, the next one's
Yes.
gonna, I think this is the principle of vibration.
Yeah, I think
So
we've already covered it. But
yeah, I mean, read my books. No, that's all I want to say on that one.
Well, it's in the Cabalian, it's like everything is in motion. Everything is in motion. Nothing is static. So it's, you know, this too shall pass. If you're going through something that, you know, that's more than usual, this too shall pass, whether it's a good thing or an uncomfortable thing, or you know, something you're really loving, it will pass, because everything is in motion. But the other, and just down, it's also talking about the fact that nothing is as it seems. Nothing is solid, you know, that everything is simply vibration. It's molecules vibrating either very fast or very slow. And so it really is a matrix. It's a platform that we're playing in. That there is nothing solid, nothing real about our reality.
Infinite particles of creation. So consciousness is infinite particles of creation, and it's in a non-physical form. We create the physical through our mentalism, through our consciousness, and the way we think and the way we believe, and the way we vibrate. The way we vibrate, the frequency that we vibrate at, is bringing into form the physical. Would you agree with that?
Yes, yes. And this again is what Paul Selig talks about. Maybe you could put a link in for Paul as well. When he talks about lifting our experience rather than condemning an experience as being bad or difficult, that we lift it to the upper room, to the higher vibration, to the higher octave. And so everything is just becoming that little bit lighter, bit more ease with it. You said something earlier about maybe you and I just don't have those really difficult situations anymore. But actually, you know, I see and hear people talking about things that happening in their life that are, you know, equal or whatever, and it's a huge drama for them. It's a huge trauma for them. They're really upset by things, and you know, the same thing or similar thing could be happening to me, and I'm just not upset by it anymore. So it's not that they don't happen, it's just that I don't see it as a drama or a trauma, and I don't get triggered by it.
How you see the world is what changes it. So how you see it has changed it from it's not triggering you anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Because I either because I have accepted that what, you know, is going on out there is going on in here, and that it's my responsibility. And I have compassion for myself that I, you know, I'm not perfect. I still fuck things up. Excuse my language. I still screw it up, and get things skeways. And that's okay, because that's just part of my growth and my, you know, it just is.
We bring it back to it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the frequency again, because you've got that compassion for yourself. You're not going into guilt, sadness,
guilt or shame,
panic, shame, resentment, bitterness, anger, all these other things. You're staying in a place of compassion, which is expansive and high frequency. So you're not going
mostly.
So, and that's why again we come around in a circle, because it's about not judging the situation, not judging yourself. So yeah, it's all there is a massive overlap going on here. So what I also what kind of came to me as well, and I think Aubrey Marcus said something about this, and I can't remember his exact words, which is a shame because it sounded very poetic. But this whole concept that we are life, that life flows through us. You know, this people are talking about life happens to us and we're a victim to our circumstances, and then everyone's, you know, understanding now, not everyone, sorry, but you know, like we're understanding that life happens for us, and you've touched on this already. Life happens for us. We're creators. That almost still sounds like life is separate from us. We are creating that experience for our own evolution. That's what you've just been saying. But also understanding that life happens through us. Life isn't happening around us. Life is happening through us, and we are creating what's around us from the life that's coming through us. And as it comes through us, I think through the breath, of course, consciousness, but also consciousness is coming through, you know, through the chakras and I don't know, osmosis through the skin, I don't know. Life is coming through us. And the creation is coming from our own thoughts and beliefs and mental processes. So we are life. We are life.
We are.
We take that consciousness, that all, what did you call it? The all. Yes, the all is mine. And the all is kind of non-physical, but it includes all the physical as well, of course. But that all is coming through us, and it's us that bring it into the physical. I keep coming back to this. Is that right?
I know, but yes. Because what we see and experience is processed by our 5 senses or 6 senses, whatever. So nothing. Okay, so because everything is vibration and nothing is solid, then everything is life. You know, it's the all. It's all just simply consciousness vibrating at higher or lower frequencies. I don't know how to say it any other way.
No, I'm still caught up on this. Probably because of all the time that you've said to me, but there is only you, there is only you. Perhaps I might be taking this concept a little bit too far. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Because I'm thinking now that, yeah, because we want to change what's outside of us, the things that are less preferred, shall we say. And we change it when we've experienced this, haven't we? We change it when we have, in my case, I would say released trapped emotions, or I would say shifted a belief, or I would say let go of a belief. I mean, these are the ways I would word it, but other people might word it differently. I appreciate that. But in my journey, every time I've done that, something has, well, things have left, unpreferred realities have left my experience, and more loving, more life affirming, more positive experiences have come in. So I'm feeling, yeah, I think and even very unpreferred situations, when I'm honest with myself, there's a lot of, we have to be honest with ourselves. Well, as you know, I got angry the other week, and it surprised me that I could feel that level of anger. And yet, when I went inside and just thought everything that came out of my mouth, I imagined that my higher self was saying to my human, and I was like, does it match? And I was like, yes, it did, on some level. I see, this is why I keep coming back to this some level, because everything that I was saying in anger to this other person actually was my higher self wanting to say it to my human.
Your small self.
I wanted to say it to myself. It was myself, but the situation outside of me was exaggerated. That's what I want to say. It was kind of like it was a mirror, right? So there was a mirror.
Yes.
But it was one of those mirrors at the fairground where it makes you, do you know what I mean?
Magnifying mirror. Yeah, it's a magnifying mirror, because otherwise we wouldn't pay any heed to it, yeah, it's magnified, and the colors are brighter, and the emotions are more intense, and that's why the greed and corruption and manipulation and everything out there is so in our faces. It's so magnified. But then when I look inside, okay, I'm not that greedy, I'm not that corrupt, I'm not, I'm not that manipulating. But, walking on eggshells, or not saying your truth because you don't want to upset someone, that's manipulation, that's controlling. And saying somebody, even saying someone, they lied to me, they shouldn't have lied to me, they should have told me the truth. That's me trying to control, because I want that person to do what I want, what I would do maybe, or what I think they should do to give me the preferred outcome. Or if I say somebody's really selfish because they won't do what I want them to do, or won't say what I want them to say, or believe what I want them to believe, or see things the way I want them to see things, that's
controlling.
That gets magnified out as authoritarian, totalitarian control.
This is a really important point, Liz. For me personally, I think this is a really important point, because I was going to say, I'm seeing outside of me. Of course, it's a reflection of a part of me. I'm taking that on board. Maybe I need to take it on board a bit more, otherwise this whole conversation wouldn't be happening. But it's making me think about the yogic yamas and niyamas as well, because one of them is about greed and not taking more than you need. And that's why I said beforehand, it's not just about what we consume or what we buy. There's a lot of greed going on with, consumerism, but also, like as I said, taking up people's time, or taking people's energy, or in any area of life, taking more
expecting more than what we've got
All that we
in
need.
the moment. Yeah. Well, because in this moment, I might think I need something, but actually in this moment, I don't need anything other than Wi-Fi.
And it's also, it doesn't have to be in connection to your relationship with other people or even the outside world. This greed and control, the control and manipulation, it can be you're controlling yourself and you're manipulating yourself in some way.
Well,
This is,
totally.
yeah.
Oops, sorry. Oh dear.
Was that tuppence?
Ow, ouch. Yes, no, no, it was me, but it was because Top
Oh, you're frozen again.
is
Oh,
telling me.
okay, you're back
Yeah,
again.
say hello, Tuppence.
Brilliant. You
Hello.
okay? There she
Yeah.
is. Forgiven as always.
Yeah. It wasn't her that did it. It was me trying to manipulate her off my knee.
Trying to control
Yeah.
your cat.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. I think we've got, okay, let's move on. Otherwise our video will be really, really
Okay.
long because the principle of vibration, obviously, there's a lot on the self-mastery with Liz Nagle on my YouTube channel. And there's also an awful lot
Yeah.
in my Lessons in Awakening on
Yeah.
the principle
On
of
vibration. Yeah.
So this is the one that I kind of really wanted to talk to you about, was the principle of polarity. So would you like to just explain how you've explained it to me before? Because I think it's lovely. I think it's clear. It makes sense.
Okay. Well, if I get the words confused, fill in for me. So the principle of polarity for me is like a guitar string. Is that the example you're thinking of? Okay, so it's like a guitar string. It gets tied in at both ends. And then it can be tightened or loosened. It can be strummed, or, we can play notes on it. But that string is a belief or a thought. Okay, if you think of it as the note of D or E, each string is a different belief or thought or issue or trigger. So
Should we mention that there are opposites at each end?
There are opposites each end. It gets tied in at both ends. So for instance, hot and cold, let's keep it non-political, heat and cold. So heat is at one end of the string, cold is at the other, and you can each point on the string is either a little bit colder or a little bit hotter than every other point on the string. But where does heat end and cold begin? There isn't a single point. It's just help me with words.
Spectrum.
A spectrum. Thank you. That's the word. It's a spectrum. And while it's easy to see that it's a spectrum with regard to temperature, the string is called temperature. At one end there's heat, at the other end there's cold. And it's all a spectrum of heat and cold.
Because what's cold to me might be warm to you. I mean, especially with swimming, because some people like warmer water, some people like colder water. So how you would use the words hot and cold are dependent on you. So what's cold to me could be warm for somebody else and vice versa.
Depends on your vantage point.
You get to choose where you pluck that string.
You do get to choose where you pluck that string, or what your favorite part of the string is. And the trouble is we as humans, we tend to go, well, no, this is the preferred point. If this is my preferred point, so I'm obviously right and you're obviously wrong if you don't like this isn't your preferred point. And instead of saying, oh, well, that's interesting, because you know, I like it a little bit warm, as you say, and you know, you like it cold. Oh God, no, I don't like it cold. You're crazy. You know, this is what we do. We think that ours is the most, because it is to us, it's the most logical, reasonable point on the string or on the spectrum. You know, my point is the most logical, reasonable point for me. I loved the way Robert Grant said, from my advantage point, right? Not my vantage point, but my advantage point. It is my vantage point that says, you know, this is the preferred point on the spectrum. This is my preferred point, so therefore I'm right. But then it becomes my advantage point when I use my mind to find evidence to back up my point of view, my vantage point. Then I'm using all of my resources to back up my argument that I'm right. And I use that to push my perspective.
I've got two questions.
And yeah, go ahead.
One is this whole idea about finding research, because if we look for something, we're thinking about it, we've got emotion attached to it, we're going to create it. So we can actually find anything to back up anything, no?
Yes, of course we can. The scientific process is supposed to eliminate that idea that you have a preferred outcome. Okay, so the science is supposed to do research and take the answer that is given, not the answer. So it's all open questions, and there's never a definitive answer. What happens if? And what happens if? And that's the scientific process, is not having a preferred outcome, an attachment to an answer. You're just looking for what comes.
Mm-hmm. So what happens if, let's take hot and cold and put good and bad at the two ends of the string. Now, because what I find interesting as well, is I might have to listen to that podcast with Audrey Marcus and Robert Grant again, because it's one of those where I just pick up something different each time. But if you look back at some of the atrocities in history, shall we just say, at the time, some of the people thought that committed atrocities, some of the people thought they were doing the right thing. They thought they were doing the good thing. There's a lot of that going on in the world, where, and this happened actually to me personally when I had that moment, what I call the space cake experience, and God was talking to me, a voice was talking to me and showing me that those videos, and a lot of them were, I actually pluffed up, that's not a word, but with kind of pride, because I was being shown videos of where I had thought I was doing well, and I had thought I had done good, right? And it was pointed out to me that even in those situations, I was living from fear. And that, I just remember that really kind of surprising me. I mean, this is stuff, you know, from my youth and stuff, but I think that's happening a lot, where there's this spectrum, and people inherently most people inherently want to be good. Most people inherently strive to be good, right? But so they're being good, but perhaps they think they're being good, but somebody else would view it as bad. It's exactly the same as what you just said. This is warm for me, but it's cold for you. So this
Well,
you're being good
okay.
here, but someone else will perceive it as bad.
Yes, well, but that's a moral construct. That's nothing to do with like a fundamental principle. That's a moral construct of what's good behavior and what's bad, what's socially acceptable, what isn't. From the higher perspective, it is good behavior is going with the flow, is the Tao. It's following the Tao. It's respecting all life. It's respecting the planet. It's respecting the all that is, and always working for the benefit of life and evolution again. So that's good behavior. And bad behavior is anything that is detrimental to all that is.
But would there not be people in that second category, but believing that they're doing good for humanity?
Totally. They certainly think they're doing good for themselves. So, they are coming from that point where, from their perspective, it's a beneficial thing. Whether and if it's beneficial for them, it'll be beneficial for their family or their friends, or their dream of a better world or humanity. But not everybody is that way inclined. Sometimes it's literally, well, I'm going to take this because, well, if I don't, he will, and then I won't survive. But it's always from. So yes, humanity, people are always coming from a point of view, are always good from their perspective, because there's always somebody, wherever you are on a spectrum, there's going to be hotter and colder, no matter, even if you're like, you can't, it's infinite, it's infinity. So there is no definitive point of cold or definitive point of heat. There's always something hotter or colder, or better or worse, or badder or gooder.
Yes, so and this is something that Aubrey Marcus said, but because he was saying, how we talk about being multidimensional beings, he referred to us as being full spectrum beings. And I like that. I kind of really, I resonated with that a lot. There's a lot of, it's almost like a relief, isn't it? That to identify with being a full spectrum being, it means that we can stop judging ourselves for being at whichever end of the polarity, the end of the guitar string that we might perceive ourselves to be at. But he was looking at that guitar string that you're talking about, saying, let's have Jesus Christ at one end and the Antichrist at the other.
Mm-hmm.
I found that very interesting. Or putting ourselves on that string.
Yeah, the Liz and the anti-Liz, or the Deborah and the anti-Deborah. Yeah, and we are. I'm all that. I am all that. All that I am. And I am choosing to express at a level, from a point that from the highest point I can, and that is for my growth and evolution.
Yeah. And it's like when Alan Watts refers to everybody being a rascal. And it's that, you know, we all have it in us. That's the whole point, isn't it? We have it in us. We are the all that is. And we get to choose where we pluck the guitar string.
Yeah. I'm not the all that is. I am a part of the all that is, because
we're channeling the infinite, the infinite.
No, we're not we're not, but that's implying that there's something outside of me. There is nothing outside of me to channel. I am.
That we're breathing it in. I still come back to the breath, because I think that the breath is our life.
But do you think
the dead body is still part of the all that is? So it's not breath.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the breath that is the life force, but everything is the all that is.
Yes.
Okay. I might have just confused myself.
Yeah, me too. I forgot where we are. I can't remember the point I was
making.
Anything
else? This is the principle of polarity. Is there anything else that you want to say about the principle of polarity before we move on?
I just wanted to bring in the concept of paradox, that both are true, which is exactly what we were saying. I am Liz and anti-Liz. The Christ and the Antichrist are all one, all the same thing. They're all on the same guitar string, so that's the concept of the paradox, that both are true and both are available. And I think Aubrey was making the point that's where free will comes into it, choice. You choose where you're expressing from.
And it really brings it home, the judgment, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How we create so much suffering through our judgments.
Yeah, of ourselves and others.
And what's going on in the world. What's going on in the world is everything. We're judging everything as being right.
What we judge others to be, we are. Yeah. It's like, if I'm judging somebody for bad behavior, or if their behavior or words or beliefs are triggering me, then I am that at some point.
Yeah, because that's what Paul Selig said. I love that one when he said, when you put somebody in the darkness, they take you there.
You've frozen now.
Sorry. Sorry. When you put somebody in the darkness, they take you there with them. And basically, when you put someone in the darkness, meaning when you judge them, you're judging them as being wrong or bad or whatever. But when you do that, you're entangling with them and they take you there. So you have put yourself in the darkness when you judge someone else. That really struck a chord with me as well. But yeah, this whole point of judging, when you look at the 7 Hermetic principles, you really have to release all judgments. Otherwise, you're not going to understand how it works. Because judgment's keeping us from really embodying the whole concept, do you think?
Well, I mean, if anybody is listening this far in this video, then they've already got it. Because it's like anything. If you're listening with a view to critiquing it, or having, or seeing where it might be wrong, or where it makes sense, or where it doesn't, then you're listening with your mind, and you're never going to get it. You have to listen really with your heart, and not worry about the bits you don't understand. If you don't understand it, it's because you haven't figured it out yet. You're just not, you haven't figured it out yet. It's not that it's not that you can find something wrong. It's not about finding what's wrong. It's just about focusing on what resonates. And working with that until more resonates with you.
Take what resonates and leave the rest. And yeah. There was something else that I thought then for a minute. No, it's gone again. But yeah, maybe because it's, for me, it's this. I keep coming back to the judgment thing. So for me,
I just wrote a note here under polarity. It's duality and separation, but they are, it's all one.
Yeah.
Both ends of the string are still on the string.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to say, because you said something about we have to listen with the heart, and it was like this. And Greg Braden talks about brain heart cohesion, and they were saying yesterday when I was listening to them, Aubrey Marcus and Robert Grant. So it's not just listening; you have to think with the heart and feel with the brain.
Yeah.
It was like literally
switching it around,
switching the roles.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's almost like to me, it's like the next step after following your heart. So you follow your heart, you listen to your heart, but now we're being asked to actually think with our hearts. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know whether it does or not.
Well, there are neurons, brain neurons in the heart. So yes, it does have the ability to think.
Okay. Okay.
And there are hormones in the brain, so it does have the and nerve endings, so it does have the capacity.
Yes, because they were talking about the pituitary gland being feminine and the pineal gland being masculine, and the cohesion between the two as well. But then we're getting on to a whole other area.
We leave that to them.
Yeah, we'll leave that to them. I will put a link in the description to the interview that we're talking about, and of course to the Cabalian book. Okay, so the fifth principle is the principle of rhythm, which of course on a simplistic level I always see as being the tide of the sea, or the breath, or I've forgotten what it's called. I mentioned this in the video, on April's video, that like the pendulum that keeps time with the music. You see them on pianos.
Yeah.
So the distance that it goes one way is the same as the distance that it goes other, if we're going to stay in balance. But the whole, it's like you were saying before about vibration. Everything is moving. It's energy in motion. Everything is moving, and that's why change is the only constant, right?
Yeah, although I think rhythm is talking more about cycles, isn't it? It's
as well,
talking about cycles. Yeah, because everything is overlapping here, but yeah, it's I mean, that's more correspondence, isn't it? It's like everything that shifts in one direction it shifts back in the other. It's cause and effect as well. It's
karma. There's something very karmic about it as well, isn't there?
Yeah, but it's everything has sorry, everything has equal and opposite. Sorry,
I can't think of the word either.
So so if I push in one direction, it'll swing back in the other direction to the same equal amount. Momentum, rhythm, cycles.
And going with the flow, that's kind of, and yeah, the cycles. Yeah, exactly. Because then we're getting into astrology, are we not? With cycles?
Well, yes. I'm trying to think of a good example. It's just that everything you know, keeps repeating. And it depends on its, well, okay, this is my understanding. I can't remember what it says in the Cabalion about it, but everything keeps repeating, but it's like the chorus of a, you know, in a song. You can keep looping it around, or you can keep raising the octave, you know, because every song, every symphony can be played at myriad of octaves. And obviously yeah, sorry, I can't remember what I'm going off on this, but it is that everything keeps repeating, and our lives will keep repeating, and situations keep repeating until we learn to see it from a different perspective or raise the octave, and you know, then it will repeat, but it'll express in a different way. Am I not sure I'm making sense? What have you got written down for rhythm?
Not a lot. Because I just see it as going with that flow, and I was seeing it as change is the only constant. Nothing's going to stand still. That's why when you said before, this too shall pass. You know, you know that this too shall pass because of this movement. It's movement in the stillness, I want to say. It's the movement of energy in the stillness, because it's still still flowing. It's never not moving. I think that's the point. The all that is never not moving. It's never not flowing, I want to say.
Yeah.
That's all I've got on that one. Let's go on. I've just looked at the time. It's amazing how long we can talk for. The principle of cause and effect. The only thing I have here, which I thought was interesting, is coincidence is a law unknown. I like that one. Because you know, when you have these synchronicities, and I think that's one of the first signs, isn't it, that there's something bigger and greater than our human that's guiding us. Is people have these synchronicities, and they call them coincidences in the beginning, and when the coincidences keep coming, it's really your higher self waking yourself up, I think, as in look what can happen, and look what can happen over here, especially when people see the same numbers all the time, or people see, you know, heart-shaped stones everywhere they look. It's like we said that about research. If you fill your vibration with heart-shaped stones, you're going to find them everywhere you look. It's great, you know, because you're creating it, you know, you're putting the energy on it. You've got the thoughts, you've got the word, you've got the deed, you know, and that's how we create. So
and this is where, you know, when I say there is only me or there is only you, of course you're going to keep projecting out and keep receiving back, you know, the things that your mind is focusing on. Of course it is.
So there is
because there is only you.
Yeah. And there is no such thing as coincidence. It's just that it's an expression of a universal law that you don't know yet.
Yes, I do like that as well. But also cause and effect is, you know, as you sow, so shall you reap. It's the principle of karma. And yeah, you know, whatever, it's going back to rhythm. Whatever I push out there is going to come back at with equal and opposite force. So it's just going to keep that swing going. So whatever I put my energy into, which again is going back to the polarity in the string, you know, it's like if I put my energy, if I pluck that string on, you know, a certain place, that's going to resonate back. And if I push an idea into the world, it'll come back, either a good one or a not so good one. And so it's important to be conscious of, like, is this thought, is this idea going to be for, you know, not just my good, but, you know, the good of all life, the good of the all, because there is only me, and I am part of the all. I am the drop in the ocean, and the ocean in the drop.
Yes, and I really feel, you know, people are feeling low. I've often said this, and I found it to be true myself, is that if you're feeling low and you just kind of want to kickstart yourself out of it, because it is a rhythm thing, as you're saying, random acts of kindness are so therapeutic. Just random acts of kindness. And of course, it is, you're being kind to yourself. You're just randomly, you know, showing behavior that's kind to yourself, but yourself as in somebody that's reflecting you back to you, you know. But a random act of kindness is the cause that's going to create the effect. And then it does come back to you. So at the end of the day, you know, the principle of cause and effect is, like you say, what you sow, you reap. You reap what you sow. So so be nice, basically. Be nice. And then with the teachings of there is only you, why would you not be nice to somebody else? Why would you not be nice? That's a good one. Can I just ask that question again? Why would you not be nice to other people? But it's that, doing good. Just doing good because it feels good. Doing good because it's who you really are. And being loving to yourself because that's who you really are, and that's when your world changes, because all of that comes back to you. But you don't do it for that reason, right?
Well, you do. You do it for that reason, because that is what is going to help you grow and evolve and help life continue. So you do it for yourself.
And stop you feeling low.
And exactly. You don't do it for that reason. You don't become attached to the outcome.
Yeah. Okay.
I was just going to say on that you know, people say, well, you know, how come then not everybody who behaves, you know, appallingly gets their karma? And well, first of all, we don't know what karma, you know, when karma is going to come around, when that action that they took is going to come flying back at them. But also, there is only me. So I would like to lessen the impact of the kickback for my past wrongdoings or whatever, that maybe I haven't been punished enough for, apparently. Who's judging what my punishment should be? Who's judging? Am I judging? I'm creating my own karma. So, you know, do I believe that I deserve to be punished or forgiven? And can I forgive myself? And if I can't forgive myself, how can I possibly forgive anybody else? And if I could make an effort to forgive someone else, then maybe I can forgive myself. Sorry, forgive them. Yeah, someone else. If I can forgive someone else, then maybe I can forgive me. Sometimes it's easier to forgive out there than it is in here. Sometimes it's the other way around. But either way, you're having a cause and effect. Yeah, it's a funny one, I think. It's a funny one.
Yeah, I mean that karma thing, it's funny because it was just making me think in the soul realignment work that I do, in the past life work that I do, there's a block which is called unjustified, negative unjustified karma. And it's really quite common. I find it quite common. And it's exactly what you say. It's whereby someone's actually beating themselves up about their own behavior, even though the universal karmic swing back has already happened. So they've paid their energetic universal karma, but for whatever human reasons, they're still beating themselves up and that kind of thing. That just kind of made me think about that. So again, there's judgment there, isn't there? But yeah, so the cause and effect. I mean, it was also quite it's like physics, isn't it? In a way, it's you know, you push an object at this speed and at this force, and it will have this effect. I mean, there's that kind of thing going on as well in the universe. So should we move on to the last one?
Yes.
Okay, the principle of gender. What do you want to say about the principle of gender?
Well, just it's a hot topic at the moment. But I think there's a lot of confusion between the male principle and the female principle, and that's the polarity. They're the 2 points on the string. And that it's confused a lot with man and woman. But the principle of gender is a universal principle throughout nature, throughout all life. And I think Aubrey talks about this really beautifully in that podcast, where he says it's a spectrum, you know, and male is at one end, but just like with cold, it's where there isn't a definitive point that is male, there isn't a definitive point that is female, and everything along that spectrum is gender. And maybe we have become too rigid with saying this is the point that is male and this is the point that is female, and it's all got to do with the physical body that you're in. That is true from the physical point of view. There is male genitalia and female genitalia, and that is male and female. That those principles apply throughout nature. But can we say that that's man and that's woman? And what about, you know, some people are more feminine than others. Some people are more masculine than others. There's more testosterone, there's more estrogen, you know. So there's that whole spectrum. And we have to, I think, move away from labeling and judging, and, you know, just pick our own spot, and that makes sense to me, but I don't need to explain it to anybody else. And I don't need to understand anything more than you have the right to choose your spot from your perspective, from your vantage point.
Yeah, I that's very much the human angle, but I see this as you said in all of creation. In all of creation has been made through the unity of divine feminine and divine masculine. If we take it away from humans and even mammals, I've been very focused lately on appreciating divine masculine energy coming in. As you say, we've all got, you know, all of this, and the divine feminine, which I like to to perceive as coming up from Mother Earth, and meeting at the heart. And then we create from the heart. And I think it is about balance, that divine feminine, divine masculine that we have in each and every one of us, but not just humans. I'm seeing everything. All of creation is made from these energies. And I think if we're going to look at the world today, I think there's been a dominance of toxic masculine energy, which of course cannot exist if there wasn't a toxic feminine energy. There's an imbalance. We could just use the word imbalance in these energies, and perceptions of them, because it came up recently in one of the readings, and I can't remember which one it was now, but I really felt a wave of divine masculine coming up, which was kind of new for me to feel that and to express it in a reading, because the divine feminine energy has been rising for quite a while now. And to actually feel, I get emotional talking about it, I'm feeling emotional now talking about it, but to feel that rise in the divine masculine energy, around us, I think is really beautiful. And it's making me realize how lacking that balance has been in the collective. So regardless of whether we're talking about humans and gender and stuff like that, I think we're talking about the collective and how everything is created from.
But I think we're talking about the all.
Yeah, exactly.
We're talking about the all. The all that is
made up of divine feminine and divine masculine.
Yes, and the paradox again of of this idea of polarity and duality and separation. That really it's all one, and everything is. It just
everything is. You could leave it like because also you see, I've always thought this though. I look into the eyes of people and I see the soul, and regardless of what gender they've chosen to incarnate in this lifetime, or what gender they've chosen to identify with, but I look at the eyes and see a soul, because again in soul realignment, the work that I do with soul realignment, we can see some souls have equally come in as male or female. My soul, for example, has chosen to be male kind of equal times to it's chosen to be female. And there are some souls that do choose to incarnate as female more often than male, and some that choose to incarnate as male more often than female. It doesn't really matter. None of this really matters. It's just, and this is why I find it quite amusing sometimes as well, because we've all been everything. We're the whole universe in one human being. So I might be female in this incarnation, but my next one or my last one, it could be male. It doesn't, it's kind of, it's about the soul. I bring it back to soul level, and looking at the soul within everybody, and not judging them on what gender they are in this lifetime.
And what you were saying earlier about being full spectrum, you're a full spectrum being. We all are full spectrum beings. So, and all things are happening at all times, all dimensions exist now. There is no past life or future life. There is only now, and it's all happening now. So you are all of those things. I am all of those things. I am.
And it's so funny because when we judge, this is I'm bringing it home to myself here. You can tell that, can't you? But I bring it back to, we are the whole universe in one human being, okay? And therefore, whatever I'm judging, I am.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Yeah. I am all that. I am.
Or I'm judging, I am. I'm thinking that might be a good place to end, and it's we've got 1333 going on my clock here.
Okay, perfect.
So the Cabalion, written in I think it's 1908, by the three initiates. I will put a link into that below if you really want to dive deep into this. If you have already studied the seven Hermetic principles and have some words of wisdom for myself or Liz, then please comment below, because we would love to expand our understanding of this and how to apply it. And also I will put a link into Aubrey Marcus, his podcast with Robert Edward Grant, Decoding the Principles of Hermetic Wisdom. So interesting. This is very much the kind of scriptures and universal concepts that I think are under the umbrella of spiritual teachings, esoteric knowledge, hidden knowledge even. There's a lot of, occult knowledge that is to do with the universe and how the universe works, basically. Or plays. We've reclaimed that word. How the universe plays and how we play with it, and how we can maximize our level of joy while we're playing. That to me is, I think, my objective is how do I maximize my joy in my playtime, which is all the time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Thank you so much, Liz, for giving me your time and sharing this with me, because I felt the need to go over these, but I also felt the need for some structure and guidance to it as well. So thank you so much.
I think we both need it, and maybe more.
Is there anything you want to say or share before we say goodbye?
Just a humble apology for maybe not having more understanding of it, but it's the best I have today.
Maybe but this is where we're at. Are you judging? Are you judging it?
Yeah, yeah, I am.
We can call it an introduction to the seven Hermetic principles. And sometimes what's good about listening to people talking about it is people, as you said, they might hear a point and go, oh yeah, that resonates, that makes sense. And they might hear the next point and go, oh yeah, she hasn't quite got that yet. And that's fine too. That's fine too.
Fine too.
We are a full spectrum, and we're just plucking that guitar string wherever it feels good and sounds right to us in this moment. So thank you everybody for listening. If anyone has got to the end, please do comment, because I'd love to know if anyone makes it to the end. Thank you again, Liz, and we shall see you all again soon.
Bye.
Bye for now. Love you all.